more good news today in that my missing locking nut has come in. These are so easy to get. Like if you really wanted to nick some wheels, is this really much of a deterrent? I don't know. I may just bin these and get 4 regular bolts. But anyway, I have it now for the princely sum of 25 quid. And I'm going to put these in tonight. Now, I probably shouldn't, it's quite late and everything, but we're going on a road trip tomorrow. I've got to bring my daughter back to university, and then I've got to pick up the 20-inch wheels, because where I bought them from is up near Nottingham. Yeah, I haven't told you, I don't think I've told you about that yet. I got wheels, I found some wheels. I actually been in touch with a few people back and forth, a few proper tossers as well. Yeah, that's been an interesting experience. But I finally found a setup near Nottingham, 20-inch Stormers on General Grabber 83 tires, 7 and 5 mil. So plenty of life left in them. I'll put the 7s on the back, put the 5s on the front, which is the way you should do it. And then when the 5s wear down, I'll replace them with 2 brand new ones. And they're not outrageously expensive, but the wheels, well, I say the tires are, I want to say they're around 160 quid each, I think. Well, I've got the whole set for 250. The guy did a deal. I'm stoked, but it's up in Nottingham, so dropping the daughter off and then heading across a few miles, hopefully through the flood water. We won't have any issues driving the range through the floods, and then we'll pick the tires up. Okay, 250 sounds like great value, but you do have to factor in fuel. That will add a bit in, but all in all, I'm excited. Road trip in the range. Well, that's pretty much it, really. It's just 2 bolts at the back holding it on, 1 and 2, and then there's 2 sliders, 2 slider bolts, and they're held in with like a. Well, I take them out with this for the torques, and it seems to work pretty well. It's basically just a rinse and repeat of the back of the car, so really not that complicated, but meaty, like big heavy parts. You're working on a big car. The other thing I clocked in here was, I don't know if you can see in there, you see all that black mark on that suspension bush in there, that's my knocking. And when I take my prize bar to it, which I've now, there it is, take my prize bar to it and give it a bit of a tickle, like none of the other bushes moves like this one does. I'll try and do, it's hard to hold the camera steady and move, but I don't know if you can see that movement in that. And there's a lot of movement in that. Ow! Fuck! Ow! Ow! This is why I wear gloves. Anyway, just in terms of the brakes themselves, so those are the old pads that came off. Well, just for comparison, that's the old pad, and that's the new pad. So when the MOT called that an advisory, they were not wrong. So I've fitted the new ones in there. They're all nice, and there's my little brake wear indicator, which is a really neat little thing. It just creates a circuit when it touches the brake disc. It's very clever. But that I don't know if I need to reset that or not, but I still have the old diagnostics kit from Paul, so I'll be able to reset that. So that's it. It's been a very successful evening, really. I got 1 set of brakes done. I'll just do the other side really quickly. Rinse and repeat. Having done one, it makes it very easy to do the other one. And I know which suspension arm I need to replace as well. So all in all, I'm pretty happy. That's pretty cool. All right, folks. Well, that's it. That's all I'm doing today. I've tried to set the reset the brake pad. See, it immediately goes red. So the sensor still thinks that the brake pads are mullered. Even if I leave that on or start the car, it stays on there. So I've looked it up online. There are various different sort of schools of thought. Some have, do the hokey pokey with the key. Some say replace the sensor. Some say cycle the key on and off. I've used my neighbour's OBD, his scanning tool, to see if there was any reset to it, and there isn't. So it just stays there. But crucially, and the most important thing for me is, it's still there, is I know the brake pads are good. They have been replaced and they are golden. And while I was down there, I also fitted my mud flaps, which actually didn't need to be trimmed. They're a perfect fit. I was just a bit of a dope in how I offer them up. And what's really nice about them is they just about, there's the second hole that the old mud flaps used to go in, but the first one I've actually repurposed it. I've reused it. Oh, it's really hard to see it actually in there. There's yeah, you can't see it. Never mind. There's a bolt in there, but I reused one of the holes, and the other one's covered, and they're nice and sturdy, and they match the rear now. So it's looking a bit, a little bit closer to being where it needs to be. So all that's left to do now is tomorrow. Hopefully the epoxy resin will have set on the door. I can pop that on nice and quickly tomorrow. Hopefully that'll fit in really neatly, and the poppers will all work, and the screws will go in, and that's it. We can take it off for its first road trip. We're good to go. Oh yeah, wipers have changed too. Yeah, and the mirror. Yeah. The long list, we're getting through it. Well, in the process of doing the wheels, I decided to have another quick look around in the suspension here, because that knock is pretty awful. And it works both ways. I mean, it's predominantly when I go to turn right, so when the load is applied to the left-hand wheel, but it also happens a little bit the other way. So, you know, the obvious thing and the usual thing that these things are track rod ends, right? But I'm tweaking these here, and there's, I mean, the problem with suspension clunks is there's no obvious, it's usually not obvious where the clunk is coming from. But on that bush back there, I mean, I just think the movement on that is huge. You know, there's no resistance in that at all. And this is a 2.5 ton car. When I'm lifting this up on the jack, you can feel the strain on that jack. So I'm inclined to replace that suspension arm, and as a first instance, and then if that doesn't solve it, I'll do track rods next. And if that doesn't solve it, I'll do that one on the opposite side. And then and then there are two other control arms in the front. There's one, and there's obviously one on the other side. And then after that, you've got your steering track rod ends, which are there, and you've got your main ball joint is there. They're all doable. You get the whole kit, not steering ones, but everything else for a good quality one for 250 quid. You can get cheap ones for 100, but I ain't going down that route. But then, you know, you read things online, and people have done all this and still had the clunk, and it turned out that it's the rear, because suspension is like that. I'd rather do, I'm looking forward to doing the timing chain more than I am trying to diagnose this clunk. But the other thing I have done while I'm here is I've pulled out the sensor, because the brake pad wear sensor, because it's still on. And I'm just looking at it. There's one side that, oh sorry, I'm not showing the camera. There's one side that has a little sensor on it, and one side that doesn't. And I think I may have put this in the wrong way around, so that the sensor side is up against the caliper, which is metal, instead of being miles away from the disc, which is what this is meant to pick up. So I'm going to try putting it the right way around and see if that solves my check brake pad warning problem. So this is what the Range now looks on its new 20-inch Stormer wheels, and I have to say, I'm loath to admit it, but my wife was right. It does look a lot better on the 20s. They fill the wheel arches much better, and they knock years off the car. The other little wheels, they just look small and a bit tired and a bit faded, and they're much brighter and blingier, and yeah, it just, as I say, it makes the car look a lot fresher and newer. I would have liked the original kind of 6-bolt flat-faced alloys that the original Vogues came with back in the day, but they're really hard to find. I was more interested, to be honest, in getting an appropriate set of L322 wheels on good tires. The tires was the important bit, because what was on the car originally were right down to the limit. So fortunately, that's what I have here. I've got 4 really good General Grabber tires, which are basically Contis with a good 6-7 mil of tread there. So I'm pleased as punch with that. And then in terms of the ride quality, I was fearful that this would really make it crashy and bangy. I mean, when I went from 16s to 17s on the Peugeot 206 GTI many moons ago, I couldn't believe the detrimental effect it had on the ride. With this, I mean, they're designed to run on 20s, and apart from a little bit more fidgetiness over bumps and ridges and things, generally fine. It's as I say, it's designed to run on these wheels and tires anyway, so it's almost imperceptible really. So really pleased with that as well. The only thing left to do now is to track down where the suspension clunk is coming from. The guy originally told me that he thought it was from the front left when I bought it, but now as I drive around it, I'm wondering is it coming from the back. So I don't know. I hate tracking down suspension clunks. I think the first thing I'm going to do is I might swap out the drop links on the front. They're cheap, they're quick to do, and a lot of the times, a lot of the problems with suspension clunking comes from those things. So we'll start with that, but I'm loath to replace the entire suspension just in pursuit of a clunk. It might be worth investing in some garage time. I love geeking out on cars that I buy by buying original brochures and price lists and spec sheets to find out as much as I can about the car that I actually own. So mine is a V8 HSE, which would have been 53 grand back in the day. Compared to the base model, which was 50 grand, you get a few bits and pieces. Looking through the specs here, you do get you get a speaker upgrade. You go from 6 to 11 speakers. You get power folding mirrors. You get what else do you get? You get Byzine headlamps, rain sensing wipers, headlamp wash wipes, parking sensors, and then there's other stuff like you get the twin sun visors, which are really useful actually. You get heated front seats and the memory function for the driver's seat, steering wheel, and mirrors, which is a really useful thing. So I think that 3 grand probably was worth it back in the day. To go up to a Vogue, which was 60 grand, that's a 7 grand jump, and it's mostly tech stuff. So you get like a fancy amp and a subwoofer. You get TV and navigation, and then everything else is pretty much the same. You get a wheel upgrade. You go from 19 inches, but only on the V8. And then the other stuff is kind of fancier leather. You do get a sunroof, which is nice. And you get a cold weather pack, which is heated rear seats, heated steering wheel, and ski bag, which my car has randomly. But if you look at the options list, you can see how they got to that 7 grand pretty quickly, because the speaker upgrade versus my car is 600 quid. The nav system is 2,400. There's a phone system's 1,100 quid, and that's an option even on the Vogue. The wheels are 2 grand. So if that is 3 grand, the wheels are 2, that's 5, and then you get the sunroof, which is over 1 grand. So that's 6 grand's worth there. So I guess back in the day, those were good upgrades to have, because you wouldn't be able to get sat nav, and that's what sat nav cost back then. But nowadays, 21 years later, all that stuff's irrelevant. I would like to have a sunroof, and I would like to have heated rear seats and a heated steering wheel, but other than that, I'm not missing out much in the HSE. It was a pretty well-spec'd car back in the day. So I have the old brake wear sensor off. Here it is, and there's the end of it, which as you can see is flat. Where the replacement one it protrudes. So I assume that is the bit that once that wears away, that then tells the car that it breaks whatever circuit is in there, and then that tells you the brakes need replacing. The only thing I'm not sure about now is which way it goes in. There's a little U-shaped recess. It's difficult to see in there because I haven't brought any light with me, but there's a little U-shaped recess in there. So I'm going to assume it goes in this way, because I don't see how the cable could route the other way. So let's snap that in and see if it goes in okay. Might be a gloves off job just for a little bit of finger delicacy to snap in there nicely. No, it didn't enjoy that. Let's try it the other way, which would actually make more sense, and in it snaps. Yeah, so that's good to know. There's only one way it snaps in, and then after that I route it through this little grease nipple cap, and then there should be one of these that snaps in here like so, and then the next one snaps in up there behind that cable. A little recess in there. Let's get that in. I need to make sure I feed that behind. That's going back to that connector behind the shock absorber. Alright, let's get that in there. Not necessarily difficult, they're just awkward more than anything. So that should be that ready to snap in. Just going to swap hands. And then once I have this snapped in, which I have now done, it literally just connects to this connector, and then they sit in there and you close the door behind. And that is hopefully the brake pad warning light dusted. Right, so that's that in. Let's take the old one out of the way. So now to see if that works. That, by the way, is it's a good quality one. It's a, let's see, key and ignition lock. I should have a brake pad warning. So I should have a red light up there. And now check brake pads. Okay, so it's telling me that. So what I believe I now do is I need to cycle it. So this is where I think I need to do this on and off once. 1 and 2. Yes. Oh, it's gone out. Red light's gone out. Hang on. I think it's gone. I think that's it. I think it was just after a few cycles the car's realised it's gone yellow, it's gone red, it's gone out. My brake pad warning thing is gone. So that normally happens when you turn the car off, like I do now. You take the key out, you get a bong and a check pad warning light. It is gone. So it needs about, once you replace the sensor, it needs about 10 cycles to make it go in. You can fake that with the key, but that's it. Another little box ticked. Love this car.